Always have a support structure that you can rely on, having people that can always deliver, and at the very least, those that can show progress on a daily basis.
Kita adalah brand holder. Kita kena yakin dengan brand kita. So sebelum kita nak meyakinkan orang dengan brand kita, kita kena yakinkan diri kita dahulu. So macam mana? Ilmu, knowledge. Pergi belajar. Tak belajar, tak tahu. Saya buka syarikat saya sendiri sebab masa itu saya yakin masyarakat tak boleh bergerak tanpa motivasi.
புதுசா வித்தியாசமா நீங்க யோசிச்சு ஒரு மார்க்கெட்ல டிமாண்டா இருக்கிற ப்ராடக்ட் நீங்க கொண்டு வந்தீங்கன்னா பயணியராகவும் ஆகலாம். அதே சமயத்துல மக்கள் திருப்பி வந்து உங்கள்கிட்ட வாங்கிட்டு இருப்பாங்க.
把你的生意放上网络平台，我朋友是做网络卖衣服的生意，他的生意是不断的在增长。我起步的时候是跟去银行贷款，所以他说我的规模也是太小，所以他是不接受我的贷款的。有一天我上网寻找贷款，然后过后就找到 IMSME， 过后我去 click 进去申请表格。第二天 CGC 的有一个顾问打来跟我说， 你可以尝试用 P2P 的平台，过后就成功了。
The great thing about this whole CGC ISME program is that it's no collateral and you can grow for as little as 1,000 ringgit to as much as 5 million. I went online and went to the page, registered, logged in, and just keyed in my details. And from there, within a matter of days, things were already set in motion. So it's really that straightforward and that simple. I was able to get it within a matter of weeks. I think everyone can too.
IMSME ஃபண்ட் வந்து நாங்கள் வந்து அப்ளை பண்ணியிருந்தோம், எங்களுக்கு கிடைச்சிச்சு. அது மூலிமா எங்கள் பிஸ்னஸையும் வந்து எக்ஸ்பேண்ட் பண்ணோம். 10% வந்து இன்க்ரீஸ் பண்ணோம் எங்கள் சேல்ஸை. இது மூலிமா IMSME ஃபண்ட் வந்து ரொம்ப உதவியாக இருந்துச்சு எங்களுக்கு.
Sebenarnya dalam business, fund is everything. You have fund, you can go bigger. You don't have fund, you cannot go anywhere. CGC banyak membantu saya untuk saya go and move further sebenarnya. Dan at the end, saya dah ada branch baru dekat Alustah selepas saya dapat dana daripada CGC. I have no fund problem at all after that. Jadi dengan IMSME memang banyak sangat ubah hidup saya dan banyak membantu mengembangkan bisnes saya.
感谢 IMSME 帮我的生意更上一层楼。
Hi, everyone, and a very good afternoon to all of you. Welcome back and welcome to the grand finale of Star Media Group's Smart Retail Live Virtual Conference. We hope you had a good lunch break. I definitely did. I'm holding my breath now to look good in this dress. And I hope that you have enjoyed the session earlier this morning. Let us know what your thoughts are about the morning's program, and we would love to hear from you. So please type in the chat box or in the comment section. If you are tuning in for the first time, and whether you are on Zoom, Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn, thank you very much for joining us. My name is Myra Baiti, and I'm your host for this conference. If this is new to you, we would like to share with you a brief background on how we came up with the idea for this event. In conjunction with Star Media Group's 50th anniversary this year, and as a follow-up to the Digital X Data 2020 live virtual conference, the Smart Retail Conference is a part of the Digital X Data 2021 Roadmap to Malaysia 5.0 program that is dedicated to enabling digitally powered Malaysian businesses to accelerate growth in the new Malaysia 5.0 digital economy powered by disruptive technologies. And to kick off the road to Malaysia 5.0, the Smart Retail Event Program will take you on a 2-day journey to discover what is in store for retail as the nation moves beyond MCO 2.0. The program revolves around key subjects such as women in retail, customer experience, online fraud and cybercrime, digital operations, and e-commerce and digital marketing. To learn more about the event agenda and speaker profiles, you may scan the QR code that is located on the top right of your screen, or you can go to bit.ly/smartretailagenda. But most importantly, we hope you will learn more about digital transformation in the retail sector and how your business can transform from merely adapting and surviving to thriving and winning. All right, guys, we now would like to announce the prize draw winners of this morning session. And yes, you heard it right. For those of you who have just joined us, all you need to do is to stay with us till the end of the session and you will stand a last chance to win these cool prizes. So let's see who are the winners of this morning session. The Skull Candy Jip Plus wireless earbuds goes to Jaden Ma. The Divu Macchiato Bluetooth speaker goes to Vincent Chin. And the Skull Candy Push Through wireless earbuds goes to Lai Po Fat. Congratulations to all the winners. Our events crew will be contacting you separately at the end of the event at your registered email address or mobile number for the arrangement. Okay, now let's see what we have in store for you this afternoon. We will first be covering e-commerce and digital marketing, where our Terabyte partner Brightcove will be sharing with us the 5 steps to success in e-commerce. Then our Terabyte partner Ada will be enlightening us with the new breed of post-2020 customers and their online and offline behavior. We will end the conference with a powerful closing panel discussion to be moderated by the Asia School of Business. And the panel will be joined by another lineup of great speakers from ADA, the Food Purveyor, Malaysia Retail Chain Association, as well as the Malaysian Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs. To learn more about the event agenda or any of the speakers, please scan the QR code that is located at the top right of your screen or go to bit.ly/smartretailagenda. All right. As usual, in the beginning of each of our sessions, we have a few quick housekeeping matters before we begin. Those of you who are familiar can repeat it with me. Please be patient if you experience any technical or internet glitches. We do strive to provide top quality production for our events. However, some things are beyond our control. But if you do need assistance from us, don't worry. You may chat with our events crew, or you can also email us at events@thestar.com.my. And if you have any questions for our speakers, for our Zoom viewers, you may post it up in a chat box. And for the viewers on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, feel free to comment in the comment section. Lastly, and most importantly, please engage, learn, and enjoy. On to our next session. Guys, according to our Terabyte partner Brightcove, online retailers featuring video on their sites boost customer browsing time by 340%. Let me repeat that. Online retailers featuring video on their sites boost customer browsing time by 340%. Even better, e-commerce video increases the add to cart conversion by 37%. But what does the post-pandemic customer journey look like, and what role does video play? Greg Armshaw, the Senior Solutions Director for Brightcove across APAC, is our first speaker for this session, and he will share with us the 5 steps to succeed in e-commerce. Greg has more than 20 years of experience in advertising, digital marketing, and has a rich experience in building consumer offerings in the enterprise brands and media sector in Asia. Ladies and gentlemen, Greg will be coming up next, so please stay tuned and we will be back shortly.
Hi, I'm Greg Armshaw from Brightcove. I'm really pleased to be joining you this afternoon. And I've got a lot of thanks here for the Smart Retail guys for inviting me to present to you guys. Based out of Singapore, where I've lived for 10 years. I've previously lived in Hong Kong for 5 years, but I've been helping brands in this region for, I suppose, 15, 16 years now, go to market digitally. And I want to share some of that experience with you today. And there's going to be a very strong focus on video because Brightcove is a video company. I'm going to be talking about the new customer journey with video for retail. And guess what? I'm going to start with a video. So today, Brightcove is a global company. We're based out of Boston in the US, but we've had a team in Singapore for some 10 years now. We actually work across multiple different categories, but what I'm going to share with you today is who we are and what we do in the retail and e-commerce space. So first of all, it's probably easier if I tell you who our customers are. So across many different ways of using video in the retail space, we work with these wonderful customers, Boss, H&M, Macy's in the US, Myntra in India, Tmon in Korea. And this is just a few of the really fantastic brands and retail platforms that we work with in this region and around the world. And what's amazing with these organizations is that they don't all use us in the same way. Some of us use for internal communications. Some of us we're on the product detail page of e-commerce sites. Others, we're facilitating live commerce experiences. So what's wonderful about working with Brightcove is you get access to an understanding of how many of some of the best names in retail are building premium experiences that drive engagement, that drive revenue and drive results with video. And these guys come to us because clearly we're the biggest and we're the best. The reality is with video in many different use cases is that actually reliability and scalability are two of the most important areas for delivering video. In the advertising space, what we know is that if there's any delay in delivering that video experience, that the customer and the consumer goes somewhere else, basically. Now, the reality is that with Brightcove, you can be assured of fantastic performance 24/7, and you can rely on us to be delivering the content to your customers whenever they need to consume it. As you can see here, one of my favorite stats in this slide is the 99.95% uptime. That amounts to just a few minutes every single year. And we have scale, up to 14 million consumers can be on the same stream with us. So really, no matter what's happening with your flash sales or what products are doing well, you are able to rely on Brightcove to deliver that experience, whether they're up country on a mobile device or in the middle of Singapore on a gigabit network. You really can rely on Brightcove to deliver quality and scale. So I'd like to start by just going in and talking about some of the retail trends that we're seeing in this era of the pandemic, if that's a phrase that you'll let me use. So some stats in eMarketer. Online retail grew last year. It's no surprise to anyone, and I'm sure we've heard this a few times today. The fact is that online retail has grown over 25% in 2020 globally, at the same time as overall retail decline. So for e-commerce as a percentage of the segment, we're looking at close to 18% now. That online retail is a part of total retail. So emerging into quite a significant percentage of total retail. Although in this region, especially, we're seeing in China, just a couple of years ago, revenues on e-commerce from live streaming was around $63 billion a year. Just last year, those revenues, GMV revenues, grew to 125 billion, almost doubling in a single year. And we see these trends, while they're a bit more nascent in other markets, definitely growing. We see Rakuten embracing live streaming in e-commerce. We see other platforms around the region, even in Singapore, where I am, Lazada are regularly doing live streaming now. So this is definitely a trend which is born out of Asia, which is spreading to the rest of the world. Also, what's happening on the e-commerce marketplaces is that they're now pay to play. The reality is that if you want your merchant or your home brand marketplace to be discovered on, home brand page to be discovered on these marketplaces, is that you're going to have to pay. I'm not familiar with how they're setting up their search algorithms, but the reality is that there's a very good chance that people can buy your brand name as a keyword on search results, and so come up even when people are searching for your products first. This number here is 7.9 billion for this is from Amazon, and this is basically derived mostly from platform search and display ads within the platform. $7.9 billion every quarter they're now making as people, as brands pay to be discovered on Amazon. Also, what's happening? The big brands are going direct to consumer. Nike now is not quite at 50%, but they are pushing hard to get to 50% of all revenues being derived from direct to consumer experiences. Adidas, in fact, are up themselves. Nike.com, by the way, is now the biggest fashion retail site in the world with 150 million visitors every single month. What we're seeing as brands move into this direct-to-consumer experience, they will be looking for solutions to help them, drive consumers to their platforms and to help them make purchase decisions on platforms. So this has been nascent for a while, but it's growing over the past few years and has accelerated during COVID. We've been supporting these kind of experiences for some time now, but they're definitely front of mind as we move into a post-COVID world. So, has what's happened over the last year, is that an unprecedented change? Is it going to be the same moving forward? So what we saw last year was from our data, which is data that comes, it's not research data, it comes directly out of our platform, that there was a 78% uptick in retail video views just during a single quarter last year, and 114% increase in retail video views on our platform. And obviously mobile is an important part of that. So the increase in video views on mobile actually increased greater than the overall retail video views. So we can see here the trends that we're probably well familiar with in the region. And the thing is with video is our customers keep telling us that no matter where they use video, whether it's in emails, whether it's based on optimizing their search engine results, or even just on the website, all metrics are improved with video. Here you can see click-through rate for emails, 13% increase. Search engine optimization results are massively improved, and website traffic generally. Without a doubt, there are when you invest in video and use video within the e-commerce experience, you get better results. Just to be aware, Brightcove does not create videos for you. We are the video delivery platform. Creating the videos is still your job. So what will be the new normal? So to give you some kind of framing for this, what I've done is, and the team here in Singapore, we've put five steps to e-commerce success. So hopefully you'll appreciate the efforts that we've put into kind of giving you some benchmarks to embracing this new world of e-commerce and video. So as you saw just now, tip number one, optimize for mobile. I'm sure many of you are Asian-based companies, locally managed, and you will be all completely familiar with this. Anyone with maybe US or European-based companies, sometimes within those organizations there's a focus on PCs and laptops as websites, consumption devices. The fact is that most people in Asia learn to use the internet with their thumb, and most people in the US learn to use the internet with a mouse. And this is something that we have to make sure that we're focusing on, and especially as we get to 5G speeds. Most of our consumers in this region are going to be looking to complete the transaction on a mobile device. So just be aware, if you do have US or European colleagues, that you might have to educate them in that space. A great example of this actually was Tmon in Korea. Hold on a second, just get this right. The great example of this was Tmon in Korea, who really focused on making sure that their live experience was optimized, and the live experiences from the live commerce that they do, which saw really significant increases in conversion rate and increases in top line revenue from these live events, was primarily optimized for mobile. Tip number two, we're a video company, we may have expected this, but optimizing for video really in every part of the marketing funnel is incredibly important. Whether you're off-site, using video advertising on OTT platforms or other publishers, and social video is important. On-site, on the product detail page, demonstrating how your products or services are actually being worked. We even have one of our most amazing case studies in this region is if financial services can make video work for them, no matter what your product is, you can make video work for you. Interactive has been big for a long time, especially for brands wanting to create really nice interactive experiences. But really the poster child of the last year or so, especially in this region, is definitely live and live commerce, flash sales, demonstrations, etc. But also don't forget about post-purchase and maybe even customer service. Video is great for that, for helping people solve payment problems or understand how to return products, etc. Nike, we mentioned before, very public about their goal to get to 50% of revenues generated from direct-to-consumer platforms, which includes Nike.com. They've heavily gone into using video as well, especially on their sneakers app. They're using video to really engage with their most engaged customers, who are the, in the case of sneakers, the consumers of collectible items. And we can expect to see Nike, Adidas, and other platforms definitely investing in video globally. Now, One of the stats that our customers regularly share with us is that conversions and increasing basket size is a byproduct of using video. One of the things which is important to all e-commerce players is actually reducing returns. Returns can be one of the biggest sucks of revenue as people are forced to, take returns back from customers who have bought by mistake or bought something that when they received it, it wasn't the product that they thought it was. Videos are proven to reduce ambiguity, colors, things like that, the way that, especially in fashion, the way that things fall in things like white products and appliances, technical products. Educational videos do a really good job of taking the ambiguity, taking the confusion out of any purchase so that people know what they're buying and they're returning less. One of our customers in India is Myntra, who using video on their product detail page. They don't share a lot about this, as you would expect, but they definitely say that video on the product detail page moves the needle on returns materially. So they're seeing significant returns on the investment in making sure that videos are available on their product detail pages. Tip 4, how can you drive engagement? People who spend more time on platforms, whether it be media platforms or shopping platforms, etc., will consume and purchase more. So your goal when you're entertaining, educating, or providing utility to your customers is to drive really good engagement levels. AO.com is not available in this region. It's a UK-based. They sell white goods, washing machines, fridges, etc. They put a lot of time into making sure that people understand how to buy the best washing machine, how to measure your kitchen area that you're going to place these items, and you understand things like cost efficiency, energy efficiency, and these kind of things. And they track the purchase path of all of their customers, and they know that their conversion rate is higher when people engage with the video related to their products or related to the category. And some great research here. You know, consumers really value video when looking at these individual categories. Personal electronics, especially, seemingly off the charts, and that people really value when they're buying a video in the purchase funnel when they're looking at buying personal electronics. Home appliances, the example we've just seen. Apparel and makeup are definitely part of the shopping experience. And actually, I'm surprised that that's a little bit low. But you can see that there are certain categories that really respond well to video. As you might expect, there's a little bit of a slant towards the younger folks, but really these are not material, and you can expect, especially after the year, this data is actually from pre-COVID, that after the year we've had where we've all been glued to video of one form or another, that no matter what age you are more open to consuming and interacting with video. And one of the really strongest things, and we see this from China, but also across the region, is really, and actually this is a global phenomenon, is that if you show that you're human and that people are not buying from a software platform, you show that you're human, people can relate to you more and will be more trustful of the platform when buying products from it. Here's an example. Actually, one thing to remember here is that authenticity definitely beats perfection. So, if these videos are recorded from a mobile device and maybe, tidied up a little bit here and there, that is the primary concern that you have, rather than making sure that you've got a beautifully produced video, and you're spending thousands of dollars on studios, etc. That is less important than authenticity. And an example from recent years was actually Arne Sorensen, who sadly has died since making this. But he reached out. He's actually was the CEO and chairman, I think, of Marriott International, and he did a very emotional sharing of the impact of COVID on the hotel business. And he did this very publicly and very openly on video. And you know, his kudos, who's already well respected, but his kudos went up, you know, both with his staff and with his peers, to say this is a true showing of leadership for him to stand in front of the camera, and you know, when as it says here, delivering bad news face to face, really has a massive impact on you know, proving and showing authenticity with your consumers and indeed your customers. So maybe you're halfway through a video strategy, maybe you've got one already, maybe you're just considering it because I'm making such a good presentation. Wherever you are, you need to be aware that videos are not all made for the same purpose. And you know, you need to be thinking about what is the goal of this video, why are we making it, and what are we expecting it to achieve. So any marketers among you will be familiar with, you know, awareness, engagement, conversion, retention, and advocacy. The new purchase loop, purchase funnel, if you like. Within these types, you have brand promotions, company culture, how-to tutorials, maybe product detail page videos, unboxing, tips and tricks, etc. All of these may have a different use and different purpose depending on how you're using them and where you're placing them. The beautiful thing about once it's online and it's being consumed online, especially in a logged in environment, is that the analytics that you get about how effective that video has been are exceptionally revealing. It might be that your how-to tutorial only needs to be a minute long rather than the 3 minutes that you previously created. It might be that your customer service video on how to get a refund needs to be a bit longer because people are watching it all the way through and still unhappy that the content isn't serving its purpose. It's the analytics behind online video that actually are the unseen and sometimes unsung hero of providing video. Because once you know how much of a video that people are consuming and what their next steps are, then you can tailor that experience and the video content to ensure that it is fit for purpose. And here's a great example. A single video, for example, if you can take this hypothetical example, you know, gets 250 video views. But what is a video view? If you listen to Facebook, a video view is 3 seconds of content. We don't have that point of view. 3 seconds might be sufficient, but actually, whatever period of time you've decided on for your marketing messages or whatever message it might be, that if people are consuming 90% of that content, it means that the message is well received and it's serving its purpose. So, for example, if a consumer is looking for, is watching a video, in this case, a gamer's package, which might be related to telco retail. Okay, I'm looking at, and people go on to make a purchase after watching 90%. It means that that video is definitely serving its purpose. However, only 17% means that, which is not converting. So let's say people are watching a very short amount of a video after searching for maybe a business package. They're clearly not getting the value out of that video, so they would be then removed from the nurture track or whatever the next steps are on your marketing automation. So the data that you get back about video consumption is really interesting and really valuable for you to understand how your customers are engaging with that content and the steps that they're taking next. As I say, looking at video, you can use video across all of the different areas for whether it be on your product detail page, whether it be on live commerce, whether it be marketing on other platforms. The different ways you can use video, you should definitely investigate. But once you invest in a platform like Brightcove, it doesn't all have to be customer facing. What I'm going to show you next is a video. It's reasonably long, but stick with it. It's a pretty good case study that we're very proud of, working with McDonald's, which is a quick service restaurant, as you know, and they use video to keep their very transient, their staff don't stay with them very long because they're students or people who just have short-term jobs. Keeping them up to date, keeping them educated, and keeping them engaged. So please enjoy this video.
McDonald Japan is second largest market in the world. The majority of our crews is young adult. They are students. We need to expect they will leave our restaurants every 3 years or 4 years. So we need to educate them all the time. Video is the most efficient material to educate them. Before we bring video communication into the restaurants, we used paper material. So every time we change the contents of material, we release a booklet itself to whole lesson, to whole crews. It costs very much. The video helps them understand more efficiently, accurately. We had a big incident a couple of years ago. We completely lost our confidence with business in Japan. So we need to motivate them. We gathered the video dancing from all crews. So we edit that video into one dance video. That was a really great experience for us to be one team. Brightcove provided us the new technology to work on every environment. And Brightcove also provided us API so that crew can submit their video by themselves. On a regular basis, we are using Brightcove video to release the business result of previous months. Our CEO also communicate with our crews to tell them our priority of the month. Additionally, we are using this in the town hall meeting. We gathered whole members of McDonald's system. The video message is really easy to reach out this size of community. From our perspective, Brightcove is the best solution to provide the efficient environment to see the video material in the restaurants. Brightcove technology allows us to bring management message to restaurants correctly. So without their help, we cannot achieve this kind of goal. Our business in Japan recently really good. So I'm sure Brightcove Japan helped us a lot.
So this is a great case study that we're really proud of. It is I think you may have noticed in there, a couple of years ago, McDonald's Japan had a health scare, and all of the local teams, as I say, these are not lifer McDonald's employees. They're there for a few years, and they had a program where they inspired and brought the team together with great teamwork and camaraderie, building the dance video there. And they managed to re-inspire these distributed teams who typically wouldn't get exposure to senior management, typically wouldn't get exposure to other employees in different markets, and they managed to inspire them. And as you heard, the results of McDonald's Japan significantly rebounded after this program. So the reality is, whether you're on or offline retail, the value of video is significant. And I think after the recent year that we've had, people are much more familiar with creating video and are very happily sat in front of a camera. So we can probably see that the increase in video within retail, and especially on e-commerce, is going to increase significantly. Internal or external, customer facing or not. So to recap, I've got 5 tips for you for e-commerce. Make sure that you're optimizing your sites and experience for mobile. Sure, you can still look at the desktop experience, but do make sure that you're not forgetting about the mobile experience. With 5G especially, sites that do not work well on mobile are going to be left behind. Optimize your site and experience for video. Ensure that you are building video into that experience, because if you're not, you're missing out on reach, you're missing out on engagement, and you're missing out on sales. Also, you're missing out on the opportunity to reduce returns, which is the next point. Minimize returns by reducing that ambiguity. Images are fine, text is fine, but let's face it, watching a video, especially when one of the things I love about the Mintra video is that they gave the size and the statistics of the lady who was modeling that dress. people then can say, okay, I'm a bit taller than that, or I'm a bit shorter, or maybe I'm a bit skinnier. I can see how that's going to work for me. It's the same way that people shop offline. This video is a wonderful way of enabling that for your users. So put some time in, think about it, and make sure that you're delivering that experience. Engage and empower your buyers. Allow them to take part in the experience, especially for live shopping. But also, and potentially most important, humanize the retail experience. As it becomes more digital, the human touch needs to be, and the human engagement needs to be expanded. So make sure that you take time to share something about your corporate culture, share something about every day in the life of an e-commerce packer or an e-commerce merchandiser. Do something which makes your consumer, your potential consumer, see you as an approachable and trustworthy organization. Really thank you for spending your time watching me today and investing your time with Brightcove. Please Google us or take down my email address. Look me up on LinkedIn. More than happy to talk to you and tell you how our customers have built great businesses with video. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. It was indeed an eye-opening presentation. A lot of people know video, but they don't know how to do video right. Now you have 5 easy tips to be able to optimize that. So the events of 2020 have changed the behavior of consumers, disrupting traditional shopping patterns and seasonality. While a larger retail business share has moved to online channels, in-store purchases are far from disappeared, but they have indeed changed. Our next speaker will share with us why it is now paramount for retailers and brands to create a new understanding of their online and offline behavior. Vittorio Furlan is the founder of Business Insights, a business line in Ada that provides consumer insight, strategy, and technology to B2C businesses. As a management consultant, Vittorio worked with clients to define and implement their digital data and analytics strategy. Ladies and gentlemen, Victoria will be coming up next. Please stay tuned and we'll be back shortly.
Hi, a very good afternoon to everybody. It's a pleasure to be here today at the e-commerce and digital part of the Smart Retail Conference. And today I'm going to talk about the post-2020 customer, a hybrid customer that is a blend of digital and traditional. Let me just introduce myself. I'm the head of business insights at ADA. I help businesses in making sense of their consumers, so B2C customers that want to understand better the C. On the side, I'm also involved in the startup environment, and specifically, I'm supporting DTC fashion brands and conversational AI for e-commerce. Let me also introduce ADA today. ADA is the largest outcome-based data and AI company. We use data and artificial intelligence to design and execute integrated digital analytics and marketing solutions. We are based out of Malaysia, and we operate in 9 markets in the South and the Southeast Asia. When we created the company, we wanted to have the best knowledge of consumer insight in the region. And we created our own data management platform called ADA Exact. Imagine it like a live panel. We store approximately 400 million consumers in the region and approximately 30 million in Malaysia alone. The information that you're going to see today in my presentation is coming out of ADA Exact. Before I start with the actual presentation, let me just jump back in time. The photo that you see on the right-hand side of the screen, it's a town in the Alps in Italy. And yes, you have guessed right, my accent is an Italian accent. We used to spend lots of time during summer, going back to where our great-grandfathers were born. And as children, we were in charge of doing the grocery shopping. The place that you see on the left is actually the store where we used to go. It used to be a very small town. It's still small, 1,000 people. There are 2 stores. This one in particular is a grocery store. It's a hardware store. They sell also some clothes, more or less an emporium. What I really remember very fondly is that the owner of the store and all the people that used to work there, they used to know you very well. They used to have a very deep knowledge about what you would have been about to buy. So if you forgot something, they would have told you that you were forgetting something. If they wanted to upsell or cross-sell something, they knew exactly what to suggest to you. They also ran a delivery service. They took orders on the phone, and they ran their own credit scoring system to decide whether you were credit worthy or not. Overall, the sensation was a very fun sensation. The owner really knew about you, and they really knew about what you needed, a very personalized service. The owner also knew that your information is quite important and should not really be shared with the rest of the villagers. Otherwise, you would not go back to the place. Let me touch on this later on in my presentation. So today I'm going to talk about the hybrid customer. Hybrid customer that has been accelerated because of the events of 2020. But I also wanted to remind the people in the audience, wherever you are watching this from, to take advantage of the Q&A. We're going to have a couple of minutes in the end to answer questions. So please do submit your questions through whichever tool you are using. And let's start with looking at what the hybrid customer is. Being a data company, we decided to have a look at what is happening in the shopping malls in Malaysia. And we started by looking at the footfall. We wanted to understand how consumers have changed during 2020. In the chart that you see on the screen, you see the footfall in Malaysian malls from January 2020 to February 2021. There are 3 elements in it that will be very familiar to you. You can clearly see the first MCO in March, April, where the footfall completely dropped. The shops were closed, apart from the essential ones. People were prevented from going out. And then you can also see the other two small drops for the CMCO in October, and then subsequently for the MCO 2.0. There is one bit of it that you may or may not see. And the fact that you don't see it is quite important. It's the fact that when the restrictions were lifted, people went back to the shopping mall. If you look at the middle of the chart, around August 2020, it is almost higher than what it was pre-MCO. We don't have the data yet for March 2021, but we expect that the number went back to where it was. So the consumer is actually showing confidence. The consumer is going back to the shopping mall, either because they are doing shopping, we don't know that, but definitely they are walking back inside the stores. At the same time, what happened is that there has been a huge digital transformation, a huge move to e-commerce during 2020. The New Straits Times ran a survey where 5 people every six said that they have increased the amount of e-commerce and shopping online that they've done after MCO. Lazada itself for Malaysia said that during 2020 has listed 4 more businesses than what they used to do in 2019. And we all know about food shopping, about restaurants, and the number of them that went online. So at the same time that the consumer still wants to go to the shopping mall and still likes to use brick and mortar, has also been trained in a way to use e-commerce, to use digital channels. Most of them probably like it. Some of them have been kind of forced by the situation. But nonetheless, this is the hybrid consumer that is emerging. If I put together 2 charts for you, I put together the chart that we've seen before with the footfall, which is the orange one, and also the blue one, which shows the amount of e-commerce activity for Malaysia, again, for between January 2020 and February 2021. No surprise here, after the MCO started, the number of e-commerce orders just skyrocketed. And they went to all high just before the MCO was finished. We've seen similar spikes after the CMCO in September and similar spike after the MCO 2.0 in January, February this year. The interesting bit, again, is that the fact that the two of them have not replaced one another. People have increased the amount of online shopping, but they still like to go to the shopping mall. In July 2020, Pinnacle ran a survey, a traditional one. They went inside the malls in Malaysia. They were asking people about what they were doing there, how they were behaving. And one very interesting point was that the amount of time that people were spending inside the mall had decreased from 2.5 hours to 1 hour and 50 minutes. People are still going to the shopping mall, have been in a way trained to do e-commerce, but they're spending much less time in the mall. When they go to the mall, they're very much focused in what they do. They go to buy, and they don't have too much spare time. And so it becomes even more important as a retailer or as a brand to be able to maximize that amount of time that the consumer is in the mall. And this is often a piece of the puzzle that is not fully understood. We are able to understand what happens digitally on the web or on the apps, but when it comes to translating physical behavior into digital signals, it's not always so easy. We ran our own analysis. We were very curious, especially to understand what people don't do, because we as advertisers, we like to influence people and make them do something that they would not naturally do. And so we ran a very simple experiment. Data, again, coming out of ADA Exact. We wanted to look at how people pay at the counter. We looked in particular at people that use e-wallets, we took a very narrow view. We just selected one store. So the numbers that you see are very specific to that store. They cannot be necessarily ported to the entire population of merchants in Malaysia. But what was interesting is that out of 5 people that were walking to the counter with any wallet in their virtual pocket, only 1 of them was using the wallet for the payment, and 4 of them were using some other mean of payment. And we find that very interesting to be analyzed further. And so we looked at that at those 4 people over 5. And what was interesting is that out of those, 66% did not use the e-wallet at all. They just kept it in their pocket more or less as a fallback option if they didn't have any other mean of payment. And 34% used to use it somewhere else, but not in that specific store. Now, I'm not gonna tell you about what we did to the 34%. I'm gonna keep that one for the next conference on retail or fintech. But I do want to lift the discussion a little bit. We are very interested in understanding how people use the shopping mall. If I go back to the heyday of e-commerce, we were all worried that people would have gone to the mall, would have checked out items, but then would have bought them online on Amazon or other tools. The reality is that that has happened, but has not replaced brick and mortar at all. In fact, brick and mortar is still very much alive. There are behaviors like ROPO, research online, purchase offline, whereby people do the search on the web and then go inside the store to buy. And there are also other interesting aspects because as advertisers, as brands, we are very much interested in understanding which 50% of the advertising budget work and which one doesn't. Did the person buy Adidas shoes because we actually send them an ad or just because they wanted to do it? The reality is that with the consumer, the hybrid consumer that is spending less time inside the shopping mall, it is paramount for us to be able to understand how people experience the mall and why do they behave in a certain manner. So we have the hybrid customer, which operates online, but is still very much one customer. It's a customer that doesn't follow anymore the journey as they follow it before. What you see on the screen is the journey of a customer, from triggering a need to buying a good to then leaving a review. The picture is deliberately complex. It's complex because it's not linear anymore. There are multiple cycles into it. The customer cycles through them, and especially there is not one single tool or channel that is used. In the past, it used to be the store, but now you've got the web as e-commerce. You've got the web as a provider of information. People may or may not listen to what you tell them through your ads or your billboards. They may rather listen to possibly their influencer. And so they cycle through that. And that's the big challenge that many retailers and brands are experiencing this day and age. They are themselves confused by how customers are operating. The most important bit when we look at the digital customer and the retailers is indeed having an e-commerce platform. At this day and age, we have just seen the stat from Lazada, where there are 4 times the number of businesses on their platform. It's paramount that brands and retailers have their e-commerce presence. Some of them will choose to use a marketplace, such as Shopee, Lazada, a third-party platform. This will be more complex, more easy to set up, but also will give less visibility on what customers do. Some others will choose their own platform, the brand.com, more complex to set up, but also they can get full access to the information that the customers are generating online. Additionally, through your brand.com, you will be able to generate more trust from customers and therefore also command higher prices and bigger basket sizes. So we give it for granted that all businesses or retailers will have some form of e-commerce. The other important bit to remember is really understanding how the customer behaves, really creating a view of the customer that is a single customer view. You want to know who they are. You want to know what they buy online and offline. You want to know how they interact with your digital assets, such as web or your app. You want to know how they interact with your physical assets, such as your store. And again, with an advertising angle, you want to know how they respond or they do not respond to the messages that you send them. If I go back to the shop in the Alps, which will be very similar to the experience that people have in kampungs in Malaysia, the shop owner had this one in their mind. They knew everything about us. They knew what we would have bought. They knew what we looked for in the previous days, but we could not find. We knew whether we were credit worthy, and so on. Then when we scaled up from the small store to the big chains, in some way this one has been lost. And now that there is a hybrid customer, it has become even more difficult for the brand or for the retailer to put this picture together. But it is critical that this picture is being put together. Now, also going back to the example of the store in the Alps, it is critical that every time that we handle customer data, we do it in such a way that we are respectful of the information that we receive. And I give two simple rules to that. Rule number one is that you want to comply with all the data privacy regulation that is out there, PDPA predominantly in Malaysia. Tick all those boxes. But the second important rule, which is as important as the first one, is that once you get data from the customer, you want to use it for the benefit of the customer. You want to use it to their advantage. That is what becomes a fair transaction. I tell you something about me, I let you store something about me, and you use that information for my benefit. And the benefit sometimes may have the appearance of a discount. You may know that I'm interested in a product. You may know what my willingness to spend for that product is. And therefore, you give me a discount that suits my needs. But in many other cases, the information is actually better used to provide a better service or an additional service. Imagine, for example, providing a free delivery. If you know that that's what I want, I do not want to come to the store anymore because I'm worried about COVID-19. I want to be able to be serviced online and receive the item at home, and you offer me free service. That would be very beneficial for me. Or imagine also in the grocery space, where now also in Malaysia there is a significant e-commerce presence. Imagine the ability for me to be able to repeat my weekly order by just clicking one single button. Of course, you know everything that I order. Of course, I trust you that you're gonna keep that information for you and use it for my advantage. But the service that I want is not a discount in this case. I just want to have convenience and a more frictionless experience. Now, we also look very much forward to the recovery. Mr. Tan, Retail Group Malaysia, last week in the edge markets, was interviewed, and he was saying that Malaysia will return to the normal size of the retail industry in 3 to 4 years. And we really look forward to that point. There are many stores, many shops at this stage that have been left empty when you walk in the high street or when you walk in certain shopping malls. And we really look forward to seeing those shops being filled again with thriving business that can help the Malaysian recovery. But we said that the consumers have changed. The consumers are behaving in a different way to what they used to behave before, and possibly they will change again their behavior as we go through the pandemic. For example, what we discover, again, looking at exact data, is that the willingness to travel, to go to a shopping mall throughout the year changed quite a lot. The picture that you see on the screen, the red dot in the middle, it's the Mid-Valley Mall. What you see in the heat map is where people are traveling from to go to the mall. The more red the chart, the more people are traveling from there. As you can see, before MCO 1.0, so end of 2019, Mid-Valley attracted clientele from a relatively large part of KL. As we went after the MCO and the CMCO in July 2020, that red bit shrunk and became smaller. Even though there were no limitations at the time, if you recall, about inter-district travel, and there were no limitations about 10K rule. We could expect that throughout 2021, throughout 2022, the willingness to travel and to go to places may change. And especially may change depending on the specific segment that you belong to. We did further research for a client of ours that was looking to open pop-up stores. They again could not rely on traditional research to identify where the customers were. They simply did not trust what they could get, and they wanted to have more real-time information. And so again, using a digital way of answering that question, we could actually automatically scan what was happening in this case in Bangsar South, and identify the best places where to place the pop-up store at the best time and at the best day of the week. So we really look forward to seeing the retail industry in Malaysia picking up again, but especially we really look forward to seeing the smart retail industry picking up. And for retailers as well as brands, being able to fully understand the hybrid customer, being able to fully give them the best experience possible, and at the same time be able to handle their data. So just to recap what we spoke about today, before we are going to jump into Q&A shortly. So again, if you do have questions, please submit your questions through any channel that you're using. I have the MC here that will be able to pass me the questions, and we've got approximately 4 minutes for them, so I'll be happy to take them. So just recapping, we have seen the hybrid customer coming to an emergence as of 2020, partially forced by the events. They went on to digital channels and e-commerce, but at the same time, very much they were still interested in going to the shopping mall, and are still very much interested in going there. But they're quicker in their trips. And therefore, for the retailer and the brand, it becomes even more important understanding what the customer wants and understanding how to address in the best way those wants with the best experience. And again, we look forward to the recovery that hopefully is going to happen, or certainly is going to happen in the next 2 to 4 years in Malaysia. So with this, I'm going to turn towards my MC. I know that there are questions that have arrived, but also to remind all of you that if your question does not get answered today, or if you got additional questions, we will be more than happy to take them offline. So please feel free to use any of the links provided on the page to reach out to me. And now I'm gonna just turn towards my MC for any questions.
Thank you, Vittorio. I do have one question to start with, and this is a personal question. It's very interesting to see all of the data points and to see consumer behavior shift towards a more hybrid approach towards shopping. But if I'm thinking as a business owner, right, what kind of data points, let's say if I'm considering moving into a hybrid system, what kind of data points should I keep an eye out? And I should prioritize because the data is great, but not all data is necessarily helpful if you don't know how to use it. So, do you have any tips on that?
Absolutely, that's a great question. So basically, where do you start from? You have just seen there is this transition. What do you do about that? And so probably two parts to that question. One is that you do want to consider your online and e-commerce presence straight away. You want to be able to let the consumer engage with you also through digital channels. One, because the consumer is going to get a better experience, and two, because you're going to get information about them in the way that they interact and through other means. And the second one is start stitching up together all the data points that you have. You know about how they buy, you know how they interact with your digital page, you know how they come in the store, perhaps they use a loyalty card. Figure out what you have and figure out how the customers are interacting with you. That will be the first step to be able then to use the data to improve the customer experience.
Thank you. And a shout out to all those brands that have loyalty cards, physical loyalty cards, which I owned. It would be wonderful if you did take Vittorio's advice and put it online. That would be amazing. So we do have 2 more questions from the audience. Thank you so much. Let's see. From Melissa Mingin, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, from Zoom. Thank you for asking a question. As you have mentioned, the shopper's average time spent in the mall has decreased. How do retailers or mall management encourage shoppers to stay longer?
That's another good question. Probably the counter question to that is, do you actually want them to stay longer? Should the focus for the retailer maximize the time that you stay there, or maximize the experience that you have when you are in the mall? For sure, in Malaysia, with all the SOPs that have been applied to the malls, retailers and management have helped to make them a better place to be. So when you go to a mall, you know that SOPs are applied and you can comfortably be there and browse. But my challenge question back would be, do you really want to increase the time, or do you prefer to increase the experience and maximize the experience that people have?
Well, thank you. I know as a consumer, my answer would probably be the experience. I enjoy walking into Apple shops, even though I do not, I'm not able to afford everything. Hey, discount code this way. Anyway, we have another question, the last question for you. This is from JC Tan on Zoom. Thank you, JC Tan. Personal service to customers seems important to attract repeat customers. This is possible, but not with big retail stores. What new AI or IT systems are recommended if the store customer base becomes too big?
And that's another interesting aspect, especially when we were talking about the small shop in the Kampung or in the Alps becoming a huge retailer. There are technologies out there that allow you to capture information. I could do name dropping here, or I will be happy also offline to talk about that. The reality is that there are many technology solutions now that allow you to capture and make use of that information. So that when we talk about, even in this question, a customer base that becomes too big, actually there is not too big a size. There is not a problem for the current technology to handle whichever number of customers you have.
Oh, could those who are looking for ways to consolidate their data come to Ada for advice?
Of course, we will be more than happy to answer this question directly. So JC Tan, please do reach out to us. We will be happy to talk with you.
Awesome. And we actually have one more question that just slid in. So that's amazing. We have one from Bastian Sagild on Zoom. In your opinion, what is the future of omni-channel sales? In your opinion, what is the future of omni-channel sales?
Look, I give you probably the opinion of the consumers, and the consumers, especially the younger generations, are very much proficient at switching multiple channels, using different media to get information. So omni-channel is there to stay, and also we believe that brick and mortar is there to stay as part of the omni-channel experience. So I think this is the last question for today. Thank you very much for asking those questions. It's been a pleasure to be with you. And please don't go away. I'm actually going to make a run just to the other side of the room. There is one more panel in the Smart Retail Conference, what's in store for retail in 2021. So I really hope to see you there. On behalf of myself, ADA, and the STAR Conference, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vittorio. It was indeed an awesome presentation. After much listening and watching to all the great sessions in the past 1.5 days, it is now time to exercise your opinions and thoughts. To close the conference, we have another powerful panel discussion coming up next, and we would like you to be involved as well. The panel will also be conducting live polling during the panel session, and it's fairly easy for you to participate. Anyone from anywhere can take part in the polling on Zoom, on Facebook, on YouTube, and LinkedIn. All you need to do is scan the QR code that's shown on the screen, or join at slido.com, that's slido.com. The event code is SMART Retail. That's one word spelled SMARTRETIL. Now, let's do a test poll to make sure that you're comfortable with Slido. All right, so we're pushing the test poll now. If you're not on Slido yet, please scan the QR code on the screen or join slido.com. The event code is Smart Retail, and that's one word. All right, so, okay, I'm assuming some of you guys are already on Slido. So if you're on Slido, you may find this winning test poll question. Who won the final battle in the recently released Godzilla versus Kong film, right? The winner of this will win a Nobel Prize. Is it Godzilla? Is it Kong? Is it Optimus Prime? Or maybe it's a T-Rex? Or could it be a Godzilla-Kong tag team? Right? So put in your votes now. I personally think that Godzilla is probably going to win. Oh no, I personally think Godzilla cannot win because of his short arms. I think Kong can just nicely climb the Empire State Building, stay on top, and he'll be safe. Godzilla will be trying forever to catch him. And also, if you are like me, and we're seeing the results of the polling come in. Kong. Oh, okay. Oh, am I influencing let's try this. Okay. I think Godzilla might actually be able to win because even though he has short arms, he's really strong. So, oh no, even less. All right. And for those of you who don't watch Godzilla versus Kong and are sci-fi fans, do comment in the section, do comment down below whether you think Voldemort or Darth Vader might win. Or if you want to continue talking, if you want to continue discussing this, you can also talk about why you think Godzilla or Kong or a Godzilla-Kong tag team would win. So, all right. We've got 55 people in now, 57. Oh, this is exciting. Oh, how come there's no votes for Optimus Prime? I mean, think about it this way, guys. Optimus could change into a tiny little motorbike, and then he could just run away, or he would fly into outer space. No? All right, cool. So the results are in, and Kong is the winner. So remember, there's actually no right or wrong answer, and we definitely value your input. But more importantly, I'd rather not spoil it for you, for those of you who have not watched the film. I also hope that you have gotten the hang of Slido. There will be more live polls in the panel discussion later as a part of the discussions, and I hope that you guys will also get involved in that. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to introduce and invite the guests for the closing panel discussion of Star Media Group's live virtual conference. This powerful panel lineup will be joined by senior business, policymaking, and retail leaders, where they will be uncovering future business outlooks and forecasts of the Malaysian retail and services sector. They will also be getting down to how retail businesses can embrace digital transformation and be fully prepared for the next chapter beyond the pandemic. Our first guest of this panel will be rejoining us from his recent presentation session. He is ADA's Regional Head of Business Insights, Vittorio Furlan. Our second guest is an international retail veteran, having worked for over 30 years in some of the world's leading food retailers. Geoff King is currently the CEO of The Food Purveyor, Malaysia's premium supermarket operator of Village Grocers, Ben's Independent Grocer, and Pasaraya OTK. Geoff is also a non-executive director of Russia's largest food retailer, the X5 Retail Group. Our third guest is Shirley Tay, the president of Malaysia Retail Chain Association, MRCA, which is the largest retail chain and franchise association in the country, with more than 450 members representing over 25,000 outlets, providing more than 300,000 job opportunities. Shirley is currently the Regional Corporate Director for Southeast Asia of Sunrider International. Our fourth speaker is a very special and esteemed guest from the Malaysian government. Yang Berbahagia Datuk Sri Haji Hasnul Zamzam bin Haji Ahmad is the Honourable Secretary General of the Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs. Datuk Sri Haji Hasnul has held posts in various government bodies and ministries since 2002, prior to his current appointment in February 2020. He was also appointed as the chairman of the Companies Commission of Malaysia, SSM, with effect from 1st April 2020. Last but not least, our panel moderator, Professor Willem Smit, is an assistant professor of marketing at the Asia School of Business and an international faculty fellow at MIT Sloan. Prof. Williams' expertise lies in strategy making and managerial cognition, particularly in areas of digitalization and internationalization of brands. We could not ask for a much better way to close the conference than the honor of having this panel discussion. And this is going to be a wonderful session. I cannot wait. The panel is getting ready soon, so please stay tuned and we will be back shortly.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome to this power panel that concludes our conference, the conference of Smart Retail, live conference of the STAR. The objective of this power panel is to conclude and to give some interpretation for all the new ideas that we heard about where retail is going. Retail is going in Malaysia. So to discuss this, we have an esteemed panel from different organizations looking at and working with the industry from different angles. I'll introduce the panel. It is not only questions to the panel, we'll also have questions to you and to the audience. So it will be a highly interactive, hopefully, session. So first, on my left, already introduced by Mira, by the way, but we have Vittoria Farland from ADA. ADA is the digital marketing arm of Axiata. Then we have YB Datuk Seri Hasnal Zamzam bin Ahmad, the Secretary General of the Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs. Thank you so much. Welcome. Then to his left is Ms. Shirley Tay, who is the president of the Malaysian Retail Chain Association. Welcome. And then totally to the opposite, last but not least, is Mr. Jeff King, who is the CEO of the food purveyor, operating brands such as the Village Grocer. Welcome, everyone. So to start our discussion, I asked the panel 4 questions. And those questions allow us to dig deeper and give meaning to what is going on in the industry and what other forces will shape the industry in the future, and specifically in Malaysia. So in ASB, we believe fairly strongly in action learning. So nothing is as good as as practical as a good theory. So in these questions are also based on first trying to dissect what actually makes an industry strong. Then we move to, okay, what is going to change? Is this good? And then what is needed for us to co-create and make the best of these new evolving opportunities? So those are the questions we're asking the panel, and we're involving you as the audience. All right? So first question, panel. Are you ready? The question is actually first, is about Malaysia's retail industry and its great achievements in the last 2 decades, because Malaysia retail industry has actually been growing quite at a rapid rate, and has, I think, as no other compared to other countries, one of the highest retail floor space per capita in the world, and that shows, I think, some of the commitment and interest in this industry. So I would like to invite first YB Datuk Seri Hasnal to comment. I would like to invite him first. Not only he is like me a minority, he is the only one that is like me not business. We're all business people here. He is government, I am academics. I would like not only because he's a minority here, but also because it's actually his birthday today. Congratulations, happy birthday. Right.
Thank you very much.
So what makes Malaysia's retail industry so great, and what has been the big achievements in the last 2 decades?
Thank you, Willem, for the questions, and also a very good afternoon to my fellow distinguished panelists. As you know, as you mentioned, retail industry or retail sectors has been one of the biggest contributor to the country's economy for many decades. For example, in the year 2000, the total contribution to the GDP was only about 34 billion. But in 2020, the contribution has climbed to 237 billion. So it's almost tenfold increase within the span of 2 decades. And in terms of growth, the sector has been growing on average about 10 to 11% every year. So it's been a consistently productive sector in terms of its contribution to the national economy. So it is only natural for the government to continue to provide whatever support and assistance that it can provide to make sure that the industry can grow further and be sustained in the future. It's only that unfortunately that in the year 2020, and also for the time being at least, that there's been a disruption because of the pandemic that I think not only unique to this country but all over the world. But I believe that this setback is just temporary, and the government is working very hard and has been introducing several measures to make sure that the setback that is being experienced in the industry is not going to be a long-lasting one, and soon it's going to get back to its own track. And I think with the developments recently, when the government allow more economy to operate, SOPs introduced, the vaccination programs, and maybe soon the borders will be open for much more free traveling within or among the states. I think the industry will start to flourish again, and we will see a lot more recoveries in the subsectors of the industry, as well as in the industry as a whole. The government has been consistent in making sure that the retail industry is being supported through our 5 Malaysia plans. Now we are going into the 12th Malaysia plan, and similar policy directions, broad policy directions to support this sector has been put in place. We have planned to launch it officially, the 12th Malaysia plan, but because of the COVID situation, we'll have to think about how to officially launch the plans. And in the document, you will see a very specific policy statement and strategic directions that we have committed to keep on supporting this industry. And also, recently, the government has also launched the Malaysia Digital Economy Blueprint. And again, in that document, similar policy support has been stated clearly to ensure that the shift between from the traditional brick and mortar ways of doing businesses within the retail industry to online and e-commerce platform is fully supported by various government programs, strategies, and also funds. In fact, at the moment, there are so many funds available within various ministries and agencies that is made available to support various subsectors within the retail industry. And I think that is something that the industry player should try to benefit from. And if there are anything further that the government need to do, I think the government is always willing to listen to new ideas and new ways on how this industry can be further assisted in the future.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Yes, it's interesting to see that in the 11 of 12 months ago, we were all getting into something unknown. And so business and government, they need to learn together. And like you mentioned before our meeting here, that the quick feedback loops lets us guide us through this very dark period. Yes, with bright sides in view. Thank you. Ms. Tay, your view on what makes Malaysia retail so strong in the last 2 decades?
In my opinion, I think for the past 2 decades, retail industry has really done very well. Why I say that is because if you look at the number of shopping malls around, it's not only in the cities, in the suburbs, as well as even the smaller towns. There are many shopping malls, which have mushroom. If you, I don't know in terms of numbers, there are how many, but everywhere you go now, you see new, shopping malls. Let's not take COVID, that year, like from March, 2020 to now. If you discount that, I would say that retail has performed tremendously well. Why I say so is also because of the induction of a lot of foreign brands, that have come to Malaysia, plus the local brands which have actually gone out, to other countries. And in addition to that, I think Malaysians are essentially very creative group of people. We have actually been able to come up with very interesting licensing and franchise model, which have really helped retail a great deal. I think if you look at the omnipresence of a lot of e-commerce platforms, it's not only just an international brand like, Amazon and also JD.com. There are lots of additional e-commerce platforms that have surfaced, for instance, Lazada, Shopee, as well as Muda.com. I think that would be the clear indicators to tell us that retail has actually performed extremely well in the past 2 decades. Yeah, had it not because of COVID, we should be actually on the increasing trend. This is my personal opinion. Yeah, I think it is also supported by lots of facts as well as what YB was saying. I think tourism helps a great deal. If you look at the numbers of tourists, increasing every year, that helps retail a great deal. Because if I understand this correctly, tourism should be a big factor in terms of contribution to the country's GDP. And with tourists coming, they naturally would spend a lot on retail. I know that the receipts and also the sales they recorded in the shopping mall is very high, and so would be accommodation as well as eating in the restaurants. All these factors would positively contribute to the growth of the retail industry. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, it is that creativity and adaptability and the flourish of new brands that really made the industry flourish more. Jeff, could you add to that?
Yeah, I can speak on behalf of the sort of food retail industry. It's interesting, looking back 20 years, I was working for Tesco 20 years ago. And Tesco, I think, is about 20 years old in Malaysia. And so in that time, we've seen a lot of influx and a lot of investment into buildings and structures and malls, like Shirley was mentioning, a lot of investment. And behind that goes logistics and supply chain and lots of investment. So I think that's one of the founders of the success today. In the food retail industry, we've invested in a lot of refrigeration and a lot of people investment and that sort of stuff. So today's retail and today's food retail is very different to food retail 20 years ago. So a lot more fresher product, a lot more availability, a lot more choice and variety, and really in air-conditioned and comfortable surroundings, you can do your shop. So it's a big change from sort of historic retailing into modern retailing in the last 20 years. So it's been an exciting 20 years, I think.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. So the modernization of retailing, of the retailing industry. And so does modernization stop? That's maybe a good question for Vittorio to to tap on.
Absolutely, and probably I'm actually the kid on the block here, because I've just been in Malaysia for 4 years, so I don't have 20 years of view. But if I actually remember the first time I came to Malaysia, which was in 2010, coming from Sydney. I remember we used to have a training center here in KL for the entire APAC region. And one of the key highlights of coming to KL was actually the shopping, was actually going to the shopping malls. You may think that in Sydney we didn't have any shopping malls, but we actually did. But it seemed that the offering in Malaysia was, in KL especially, was significantly bigger, both at the high end and at lower end. And so we always used to add an additional weekend to the trip just to go and do shopping. Nice. You can imagine that when the training center was moved from KL to Cyberjaya, then the attendance rate dropped a little bit. But the other point that I wanted to add is really for the ones also who saw my presentation earlier on. When you look at the rebound of footfall, every time that the restrictions post-MCO are lifted, it's quite significant. People are just going back to the shopping malls as soon as they can, which really suggests that as we get out of the pandemic and the intervention, people will want to go there. And also when you look at the online businesses as retail, if you look at, for example, the numbers from Lazada, just last year, they've increased by 300% the number of businesses that operate on the platform. So the potential and the strength is really there, and they're really seconding Shirley's point on international tourism and the importance of having people to come from abroad to shop.
Okay, thank you. Very good. Yeah, so it's great to see all the different answers from the different perspectives on different levels, and that determines the competitiveness of an industry. The possibilities that the government provides for competition, wide competition, growing creativity, as Shirley mentioned, and then the investment in modernization, and then also I think what Vittorio mentioned is that consumers are very adaptable here and react positively to good changes. So I would like then to ask the audience, and so this is an audience question. We're moving into an experiment here. We did a test. I understand the test. Mira did this. Very good. So I would like to invite the audience to go to the live poll. Please scan with your phone the QR code, and then you can see the question. So the question is: do the success factors of the period of historic retail growth of over 10 times, as Datuk Sri says, does it make us successful in the future? Yes or no? Let's see what the audience says. So I understand we need a little bit of time for the different channels to react. So this is our kind of private time. We can do some chatting now. And I know betting is not allowed, but what do you think will win? Yes or no? You think yes? Do the success factors? Is it? Let's see. And can we see the results? Are they? Oh, wow. Oh, wow, yes. There is diversity, though. There is a bit of a debate. It's a 2/3 versus 1/3. So I'd like to kind of ask now the panel to say, okay, what has actually now changed? What is disrupting Malaysian retail? Which so if you look at international developments, the big changes were already happening before COVID. Big changes, big structural changes were happening on 6 different levels. And so I'll ask the panel whether the developments that they have seen in international markets are the same as in Malaysia. being one is the emergence of big marketplaces like Amazon, the moving to consumer-centric omni-channels, the massive data collection. You have also the emergence of new technologies and applications like VR and AI, and then you have the Gen Zs coming in as a very new group that potentially changes the retail landscape. So I would like to ask first Miss Shirley Tay to tell us which are the major factors to changing the retail landscape nowadays.
I think that there are a lot of similarities, as to the factors that you mentioned just now. In Malaysia, maybe I would like to talk about Gen Z first. Why I talk about this sector is because I feel that the Generation Z is a very powerful contributor to the economy. Simply because I think they are very knowledgeable right now. They are very well informed. And I think they are also financially very secure, thanks to parents like us who have fewer children right now, And I feel that they will be the great disruptor to the economy. Why I say so is because I think this group of youngsters, because of the fact that they are very knowledgeable, they can be very demanding at the same time. And the other factor that I feel is very important is that a lot of businesses would have to real data collection is probably the number one thing they have to do. To me, is that number is money. Everybody is fighting to get the numbers. You look at the emergence of all this e-commerce platform. The few that I mentioned just now. Everyone is trying to compete for the numbers. So that itself would be a disruptor. You mentioned, rightly just now, William, about the technology. Things that we did in the past, they're very different already now. People are using a lot of, AI, chatbot, and also artificial intelligence as well. It's very robotic kind of service. I think whether we like it or not as retailers in the market, we have to embrace that. It is no longer like we have to learn to adapt. We have to treat it like it's the current norm. I think in the past 1 year or so, the speed of how we learn, to go on automation has been compressed to a very fast pace because we don't have a choice. We have to embrace it. If we don't do it, we will be so-called eliminated in the competition. So to me, such are the biggest disruptor. But I feel that as retailers, I like to say that we need not be fearful because we have a lot of experts who can help us. I mean, for instance, Vic is one of, them. Like I was just chatting with Vic just now. He said that his company does a lot of, system that can actually help retailers. I feel that retailers should learn to embrace all these changes. And then, they need to be well equipped. And the fact that if you join an association like us, from Malaysia Retail Chain Association, you can really enlist on our help and then get support from the association as a whole. So those would be the major disruptor, I feel. But having said that, I don't believe that for retailing, it will go all, into digital because it's already very crowded. I feel a lot of smart businessmen and women are really doing the omni-channel basis. They are going online, but they are also doing offline because there are a lot of times connection with the consumer is very important. You need to get engaged with them. You got to understand their wants, and their demands as well. So connectivity and engagement with consumer would be the number one thing we have to emphasize in. So yeah, that would be my opinions.
Yes, especially because there's this Gen Z group that is growing.
Yes.
And they are digitally native.
And they're fearless. They ask a lot of questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. Yes. Thank you so much. Datuk Sri, could we ask for your opinion on what is the major disrupting factors in?
I guess
in
something
industry?
that we cannot avoid moving forward into the future is that the shift in the consumer base. Because as more and more percentage of the consumers are made of the younger generations, the G generations. So their experience of doing businesses or transactions is already very different from their earlier generation, from their fathers and mothers. In fact, I think for my kids, I think for most part of their life, their experience in dealing with businesses, doing transactions has been much more different from what I experienced. So I think this has somehow influenced and has become a fact that need to be given due attention by the retailers, the businesses, and also the industry, so that they must face the reality that the demand of their future consumers will be very different from the type of businesses that they're offering, or the type of transaction that they're offering, or even the model of businesses that they're offering. I think in a way there is no two ways about it. Businesses must be prepared and must be able to adapt and adopt as fast as possible. Secondly, the level of technology that is already in the hands of the consumers. Now consumers have everything in their hands, and they make decisions, they make choices, and they shift to different ways of doing things, just like that. So we cannot stop technology from being available to the consumers. So we don't know what the kind of future technologies is going to be experienced by consumers. But whatever we have now, the kind of technology that we have in the hands of the consumer really determine the way they do businesses and deal with their day-to-day transaction experience. Secondly, doing business and going through transaction has been life trends, new lifestyle. It's not just like doing normal things like getting something from the grocery stores, or just getting something for your kitchen, for your households. It has become a new experience, a consumer experience. With the advancement of technology, this has become a lifestyle. Yes. People see that if you go and stick to the normal brick and mortar style of doing business, it is old-fashioned. The sexy thing about doing business and transaction is going online and e-commerce. So I think those are the few things that really will determine the direction of the future of this industry.
Yes, very nice. Yes. Yeah, so it's as a firm also catching up with the technology adoption of large customer groups, right? So they're in able to reach them, they're now maybe better reachable through their screens that they hold in their phone. And I think someone who knows a lot about the technology behind the handphone and the screens and the data that you can collect with that, Victoria, can you to add to that how this is changing the landscape in?
I really like the point of YB. I think it's spot on in terms of the experience that the new consumers want to have. We often look at things as disruption, but I think it's much better if we actually look at what the new consumers want to have. Because what is the disruption for us? What is the disruption for the industry? Is actually the normality for the new consumers. And especially new consumers are now very well proficient at switching multiple channels. Coming from an advertising standpoint, the way that I communicate or I influence people is not necessarily anymore through a big billboard on the street. It may not be even necessarily through ads on Facebook or other social media. I may need to consider what the influencers are, what type of circle of other people the person is surrounded with. And so the way that we communicate to the new consumer has changed. The way that the new consumers get information and like to execute transactions is different. There was a fear when e-commerce came about that everything would have shifted from brick and mortar to e-commerce. Actually, in certain cases, the exact opposite has happened because people like to research online, but then they go in the store to buy the good. They want to try, they want to sit. And then, of course, they leave feedback online. So I think the trick here is really not to look at that as a disruption, as a brand or as a retailer, but just as looking at what the consumer really wants, and how do we satisfy that desire for a given experience.
Yeah, okay, noted on that. So not disruption, but adapting and
new reality.
A new reality. So maybe that's a good point also to ask Jeff on how he adapts to that new reality for the food purveyor.
Thanks, Willem. Yeah, no, I totally agree with my fellow panelists of what they've been saying. But I mentioned the amount of investment that went in the last 20 years into hypermarkets and malls. I see an equivalent amount of money going into online and e-commerce and home delivery. And so the retail industry is continuing to invest and morph and change. And really, as a retailer, we've just got to learn and adapt and go with the flow. It's as Vittorio said, it's about meeting customer needs, and customer needs are changing, and we have to adapt. And so I'm lucky that the food retail industry is one of the last industries in retail to change, and customers like to go in and pick their different fruits and their items. But that has changed. In the last year, we've seen a much bigger growth in online commerce, probably a generation shift in 1 year. So we've had to adapt very fast to meet that need. And where we used to pride ourselves by having a smiling butcher explaining which cut of meat does the customer want and explaining how to cook it, that's now a different customer experience that we now have to think about how to do that online. So the customers need to be entertained and educated and served, but it's in a very different way to it was in the past.
Nice. Thank you so much. Yes, great. So we see in one hand a technology leap of retailers trying to catch up with advanced consumer groups that not disrupt but bring us to a new reality. And so I think it's good to ask the panel on how they see the panel, not the audience. I would like the audience to go to the Slido and ask how they see the future. So since once the economy comes out of a lockdown and the society reopens later, hopefully this year, we'll see a return to normalcy and growth, ? We have 4 options. The first one is, are we going back to normal with slow growth? Do we go back to normal with high growth? And do we go back to new normal with slow growth, or new normal with high growth? Yeah. So we'll give all the channels a little bit of time to react. But in the meantime, I'll ask Vittorio.
Are we voting?
About okay, we're going to adapt to the new normality of consumers, right? But not all the consumers are the same. As you also showed that once it reopens again, footfall will come back. So will there also be big groups that actually go back to old habits? And how much does that actually affect normalcy? Maybe we go back to what was before.
Yeah, that's
how would you?
That's a good point. And also, I'm looking at the results on the screen. Saying that basically it will be almost definitely a new normal. Look, we did a lot of analysis during last year, looking at how people change their behavior. And admittedly, there are people that just want to go back to the way the things used to be. There's no doubt. But there are also many people that have simply changed completely their behavior. When you look at distance traveled to go to a shopping mall, many people are now less willing to travel to go there. When you look at the time that is spent inside the shopping mall, many people are spending less time. They just go, they do what they need to do, and come back home. So we do expect that as 2021 goes by, we will see a differentiation in how people behave. Not everybody will go to that new normal. Some people will try to stay where they were before.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think the panel showed that there's wide agreement on there's new normal. Things will now go back to pre-COVID, and because it has accelerated those structural changes that were already happening before, right? But there is wide kind of uncertainty whether it will be high growth or low growth, right? Maybe this is something that I could ask Jeff to speak to. What do you think, and what do you actually would recommend retailers for potentially those two different scenarios in the future?
Yeah, I mean, my view is that there's no new normal. You know, I don't think things have settled down yet, and every week there seems to be a change and a new way. So until vaccination has processed through and we've worked out how to exist in tomorrow's society, that I think we've just got to accept there's going to be a high period of change. But I think for me, as a retailer, we've got to adapt, and we've got to be understanding customers so much better than we have done before, and anticipating how they're changing, how they're thinking, and what they want. And that's making us very agile and very nimble, and trialing lots of different things. And different customers definitely want to be treated differently.
Nice. Okay. Thank you. Then Shirley, could I ask you about what do you recommend for preparation for those different possible futures? Whether there is a normal, whether there will be an evolving, new, changing normal all the time. What would you recommend retail and retail sector to?
I tend to agree with the audience, because I do believe that a lot of people will have no choice, especially retailers, to embrace the new normal, because the past 1 year has been very difficult for retailers. I think a lot of them have actually started doing things differently, and such things that they have done has become normal to them. So it will be new normal, in my opinion. And I do feel that after the lockdown, after lockdown, in my definition, would be lots more people would have been vaccinated to have this herd immunity, and then people are already allowed to travel. I would feel that growth will be quite fast in the beginning, because lots of businesses have been suppressed, for the past 1 year or slightly over a year. Many retailers are eager, to really go back to their businesses. In fact, even if you look at the lockdown period, it's amazing that some of the retailers are able to even bring their businesses to overseas and continue to expand. If I may quote, one of them is a local brand, Mary Brown's. They are able to continue, to expand in terms of the number of franchise outlets they have.
Wow.
And then recently, if we have read the news, we see that Singheng Electronics, continue to win a lot of awards for their outstanding and amazing achievement. I feel that even during the COVID time, retailers are vigilant, and then they learn to adapt. So what more if after the lockdowns? I think things will be going really fast at the beginning. Maybe it will, so-called stabilize after a while. But I would think that the retailers will be very gung-ho of wanting to really, build a great height after that. So I tend to agree with the polling result.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Good. Thank you. Gung-ho. Wow. Yeah. So an excited industry. That looks free. What would you say to prepare the industry for these different futures?
Well, I think first the industry must assess and respond to the new reality. Whether it's new normal or new reality, it is something different. To take the position that things will go back to the pre-pandemic situation, I think it's not something that is wise to do. I don't think it's going to be back 100% to the pre-pandemic situation. I think in terms of source of revenue, a lot more percentage will be coming from online and e-commerce segment. And as consumers found a new comfort zones in doing businesses, I think they will try to stay in their own comfort zones. Their new found comfort zones is, for example, like having the luxury of doing shopping from the comfort of their living hall.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Without having to go out and do the driving and
Yes.
go into all sorts of hassles in the process. So this newfound comfort is, I think, is going to become more entrenched into the psychology of the consumers, and this is something that industry must find ways to counter.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of offer that they can produce so that to attract people to move out of their comfort zones, especially in certain subsectors within the retail industries. And also, besides the newfound comfort zone, there's also a newfound fear zone that the consumer is experiencing now, because they are not so sure whether they should go back to their previous activities where they just go out whenever they feel like it. They may have different preferences. They may not want to travel into crowded places, in the malls, for example. They may prefer to just go to the neighborhood businesses and retails.
Yeah.
So this newfound fear, I don't know how long it will last, will also have some bearings on the landscape of this retail industry in the future.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Very good points. Yeah. So the newfound fear zone and that will change mobility that we have, so different from what we have been seen before, and more closer to home, and more working from home, and then occasionally going to office or other place of work. Victoria, could you have data on mobility?
Yeah, look, I wanted to build on what YB was saying about the comfort zone, which really is very different person to person. So we all reacted in a different way to this situation, and what we define as comfort may change. Jeff and I were chatting just before the panel. He said that at the beginning of the MCO, he was actually switched all his business onto WhatsApp. And all of a sudden, everything became very, very efficient. And I'm very similar in that sense. I really like to just WhatsApp. So maybe the comfort zone for somebody like me is just actually forget about e-commerce. I'm just going to WhatsApp my order, and I'm just going to buy on that. But that may be my case. And also maybe my case now. As Jeff was saying, things are going to likely change as we go through the year, as we go through the vaccinations, the lockdowns, and so on. So the trick for businesses, in my view, is really to be able to understand their customers and be able to capture information about them so that they can understand what comfort zone means. They can understand whether the customer is interested in traveling or not traveling, interested in going to the store or not seeing a salesperson as they go into the store. I think oftentimes we tend to think about having one way that applies to all our clients or our customers, whereas in fact we should make use of the information that we can capture and that we know to be able to provide a more personalized service. And that applies not just to the small shop where the owner may know personally their customers, but even to be larger chains where the number of customers is huge, but actually you can use tools to capture information and segment the customer in a very granular way.
Yeah, mass personalization, customization. Yeah, very nice. So, yeah, thank you for those suggestions on how to prepare for the future in different scenarios, whether there will be what type of new scenario will unfold. Before we ask the audience, actually, I want to intersect another question that we haven't talked about yet. But I'd like to. I've seen other presentations in the conference, and a lot are talking about the adoption of new technologies and the changes are happening. So if we look at the Malaysian retail industry, which are the players that are ahead of this, that are the best adopters of these new technologies? would you like to talk about a case that you've heard about and share?
So I can talk broadly about what we see many clients doing, not just in Malaysia but cross region, which is really start making sense of the data that they capture from the customers. YB was saying about the use of mobile devices. Every time that you use a mobile device, there is lots of information that the customer is producing. Every time that you go on a website, it's the same. Every time that I swipe my Bytes card for a Village Grocer, again, I generate lots of information. And what we see is putting all this information together, solutions like customer data platforms that allow you to create a single picture and make sense of it. And what's interesting is that what you discover is not necessarily what you would know before. You may make new discoveries as you go along. And one bit important. Often we think about price sensitivity. We think that people like low prices, but actually often people like better service, way more than low prices. They prefer to receive something extra as opposed to just being given a discount or a voucher.
Exactly.
Again, how do we know it? Because we're able to put a lot of information that previously was staying in different silos, and now it's combined together.
Okay. So you can really track the whole price elasticity and see how it's combined with better service and make better offerings.
Absolutely. The
So you can
service
automate
component is key to that. Yes.
Yeah. Nice. Yes.
Yeah, no, I'd add to that. I mean, we have had to rapidly learn new skills in our retailing business. So in the last year, we've gone online ourselves. We've listed with the likes of Shopee and Lazada, and we've dealt with home delivery guys. And we've really had to adapt our model. And in the way we market our business, we've had to realize that you can't just rely on your shop window to attract people as they walk past. You've actually got to go upstream and start connecting with people outside of your shop and into the social media and the internet. So there's lots of different skills that businesses need to learn and adapt in the new world, and how to attract people, draw them in, and then lock them in once you've got them, are skill sets that we're all learning and adapting to.
Yeah, you're talking about the funnel, right? So the attraction, and then behavior conversion, and then loyalty. Yes, very good. Thank you. Yes. I'd like to ask the question to the panel, or to the audience. Let's do the live poll. Audience, there is a QR code, and the question is, when we reconvene so we have this panel again in about 4 or 5 years' time, and we look back on these last years. What do we see then? Are you the positive, negative? What do you think of what happened to the international competitiveness? Is your looking back, what you see going to happen in the coming 5 years, is that negative or positive, very positive? So I see the questions coming in. And we see actually it's all very positive. Wow, we have a very positive crowd.
Super positive
I think it's just the effect of the panelists here. Fantastic.
It's giving great insights. Indeed.
Very good. Nice. Overwhelming positive. Wow. Yes. I don't think this effect will change if we continue the data collection.
It's a zero negative result, so that's great.
Zero negative results. We have a lot of, So in generally positive.
Super positive audience.
Yes. In generally optimists have a bright future, right? I mean, that's very good. So I'd like to ask the panel, to respond to this overwhelming positive. So what would you give advice to the optimists, and also what would you give them as advice when they meet somebody who is pessimistic about the environment, about how it's going? What would you tell them? Vittorio, can I ask you first?
Yeah, I think there is actually we don't have any pessimists in the audience, so it's quite difficult to give them advice. But by and large, what I would say is get going now. Don't wait anymore for things to happen. Don't necessarily wait to fully understand what the future is going to be, because you will not be able to. And so with whichever transformation you want to make, whether it's going onto e-commerce and opening a new channel, or whether it's making sense of the information that you capture, or better understanding your customers, just go and start doing it now, because the results then will come back straight away. And of course, to the crowd here that looks to be almost 100% optimist, then just keep doing and keep preaching and attending this type of events, because I think there is a very good sharing of information.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Dr. Sri.
Yeah, I think the pandemic somehow has accelerated what used to be dangling at the horizon in the past. And now it has bring forward all those at the horizons to the doorstep. So it has become a reality that has to be faced.
Yes.
So I think my advice would be we should try to find opportunity from the reality that we are facing. Not trying to deny it or not trying to fight it over, but try to go with the flow. Because technology is very advanced and is in the hands of businesses and also in the hands of the consumers. And as we know, this is a borderless world. And with technology, everybody can reach anybody at any time. It's just a matter of choice whether they want to do it or not. The options are available, the technology and the means are available. So that's why I am not surprised with the optimistic position of our viewers on this issue, and I concur very much with their optimistic view of this issue. And we in the government is very much optimistic about the future of this industry, this retail sector, and we will continue to provide assistance and all the efforts that need to be done. And more importantly, we will continue to engage with the players to get feedback on what really happens on the ground, to help design better policies and programs, and whatever assistance that need to be delivered to players of the industry.
Yeah. Thank you. Jeff?
Yeah, for me, it's great to see such a positive audience. I would say, change is inevitable and it's happening, and COVID has just accelerated it. And I think, the positive attitude of the audience shows that people are embracing that and getting on with it. And for me, we've just got to mix in, join the gang, and see how change, and be part of the change. Don't try and divorce yourself from the change and deny that it's happening. So we're embracing it. We see the Lazadas or the Shoppies as the digital mall of the future. So the challenge is how to be in that mall and how to attract customers to your business. So it's just new challenges. The battlefield has shifted, but the great news is people are still consuming. They still want to consume, and they've still got spending power. So I think there is a positive future ahead, and I think to the negatives, just wake up and go with the change.
Yeah. Thanks.
Maybe I'll address the pessimist first. I feel that it has happened. It's no point really looking at the spilled milk, right? Life goes on. I think we have to pick up the broken pieces and start to move forward again. And it is important for us to probably also study why we fail sometimes, and then we learn from there. But for those with positive mindset, I think it is important to continue to embrace the new technology. Otherwise, I think you'll be paced out, because things are changing so fast right now. You just have to, go along with the trend. You cannot, so-called neglect changes. And the other thing is that getting yourself equipped is very important. During the pandemic, we see a lot of companies, even though their businesses were affected, they were able to sustain and still grow or maintain is because they were equipped. They were quick to adapt and modify their systems, So that is important. And as we are in a retail business, I think servicing the customers and also engaging with them is probably one of the most important things. Because if you engage with them, you know what they like, you know what they don't like, you change along with that, it will help a great deal. And what I like about the Malaysian government nowadays is that, sorry, YB, I got to say this, there has been a lot of dialogues, the government is engaging with people like us right now. They are hearing our voice. And if the retailers are finding it difficult in terms of voicing their opinion, it is always good to come under a big umbrella, such as join a reputable association so that, they can represent you. So yeah, that would be my view about this.
Yes, wonderful. Yes. So thank you so much. And before actually I want to close, before I want to finalize the panel discussion, I think we still have time for 2 or 3 questions from the audience. Because I would like, we got a lot of questions here on the screen that you cannot see at home, but we see here. I would like to ask maybe the panelists to select a question they like. We have, I think, about 12 different questions here. Is there?
I can take question 10.
Okay, question 10.
I'll give you a 60-second answer to 10. Basically, it's the concern or the trying to understand how consumers switch from multiple channels, whether they go to the store to then buy online, or whether they do research online and then buy in the store. Now, it's an important question for a retailer because you may feel that you are just acting as showing the goods, but actually not getting any revenue, which in certain cases is a reality. But also, again, the technology allows you to understand that, and therefore for the retailer to play a role with the brand and say, look, actually, I'm not selling these items, but I clearly know that these customers have been coming, checking the products, and then they've been buying the product online. Or they've been leaving reviews. So when we look at the digital consumer, at the hybrid consumer that moves through different channels, actually the retailers should fear not, because they would be able to prove that they did play indeed a role in the process. And that's 60 seconds.
Yeah, that's very good.
Can I pick a question?
Yeah. A question for
I'd
you.
like to pick number 9 from KY Tan. His questions is about how would consumers react to an AI robot chef cooking food, or would they still prefer their food to be cooked by human? What are the pros and cons of this? I guess my response will be, it all depends on what kind of food you're going for. If you're going for a fast food chain, it's perfectly okay for the robot to cook for you. But if you're going for fine dining, I think I would really prefer the well-trained chef to cook, because you would want the taste to be maintained. Why I say that is because in the sense of fast food kind of chain, right? You want to serve your customer fast, because they have this specific kind of efficiency rate, as in, how quickly you should get your food and your drink. So I think robots would do a better job in this regards. Yes. But in terms of fine dining, sometimes you would want variety. You would want the chef to do something a little bit different for you, like make it more spicy, make it sweeter. So that should be cooked by human. I hope I answered his question.
Yeah. Oh, nice to see that differentiation depending on the positioning or the proposition. You apply different types of technologies. Yeah. to connect with your customer audience. That's really good. So, and you would like to take
Probably
one?
I can take one of those questions on this big data. There's a question on
the
when the
question of big
ministry
data?
is going to embark on big data. I think number 5 or number 6. Maybe number 6 or number 2.
It's number 2.
Yeah. So in terms of big data, in fact, the ministry has started its effort to use big data in understanding the whole chain of activities in various industries. But of course, we have to start small in order to prepare ourselves and to gain knowledge and expertise. But as you know, we need to work closely with industries because to have meaningful data to be analyzed, we need a lot of collaborations of information from industries, and sometimes this can be challenges to ministries because maybe some of the data are sensitive to the industries or to the businesses, and we may not get as much as we require to complete the kind of data that we need to do our analysis. But we are working on it. We are not saying that we are not starting anything, but I think the industry will be further engaged on this aspect of big data and blockchain.
Wow, that's fascinating. Yeah, to build a data environment across industries that still protects consumer rights, not so to secure data privacy, but still allowing businesses to train their models and to customize further their offerings. Yeah, fantastic, wonderful. So yeah, so I would like to thank you all for this panel. I would like to thank the audience. I think we got quite a good discussion on how what were the strengths of the industry, what are the new challenges that the industry faces, how to adapt to those changes and actually co-create a new future. And I think with an audience that is so positive and excited about the future, I don't think I think we'll have a party in 5 years' time when we resit here to redo the panel. Thank you so much. Yes. Oh yes. Well, yes, and we do the party today because it is your birthday. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone, we hope you've enjoyed the closing power panel as much as we did. Thank you so much to Datuk Sri Haji Hasnul, Victoria, Geoff, Shirley, and Prof. William for such a great panel discussion. It was most definitely a wonderful and beautiful honor to have all of you at this event. In fact, I think one of the things that was said during this panel perfectly encompasses what a lot of the experts have been saying for the past 2 days of this Smart Retail Conference, and that is that whatever that is disruptive to the retailers is the norm for the customer. So I say, get disruptive. Ladies and gentlemen, we have almost come to the end of the Smart Retail Live Virtual Conference, and on behalf of Star Media Group, I would like to thank all of our sponsors and partners once again for joining us in making this event program a great success. To our Terabyte partners, ADA, ADA, Brightcove, Dapat Vista, Forte, to our Gigabyte partners, Credit Guarantee Corporation, Time.com, to our knowledge partners, KPMG in Malaysia, Nielsen IQ, to our e-learning partner, eLearning Minds, and last but not least, to our mobile messaging partners, SendQuick by Teleria X. Most importantly, thank you all very much for staying with us in this 2-day journey of the Smart Retail Live Virtual Conference. And as I've mentioned earlier, we are giving away 3 cool gadgets at each of the 4 sessions of the event. And these are all you need to do is to complete the short survey by scanning the QR code that is shown on your screen, or go to bit.ly/smartretailsurvey4. And you can stand one last chance to win any of the prizes. Star Media Group's Smart Retail Conference is now a wrap. We sincerely hope that you have enjoyed and benefited from this 2-day conference program produced by the events business unit of Star Media Group. If you've encountered any inconvenience from our conference in these past 2 days, please accept our sincere apology, and please do share feedback in the survey as we continue to create greater event avenues and provide better event experience for you and your business. If you need any assistance from us, please email us at events@thestar.com.my. Once again, my name is Myra Baiti, and I'm signing out. Thank you, and we look forward to host you again at the next Star Media Group event. Till then, stay safe, stay innovative, and be disruptive.
Always have a support structure that you can rely on, having people that can always deliver, and at the very least, those that can show progress on a daily basis.
Kita adalah brand holder. Kita kena yakin dengan brand kita. So sebelum kita nak meyakinkan orang dengan brand kita kena yakinkan diri kita dahulu. So macam mana? Ilmu, knowledge. Pergi belajar. Tak belajar, tak tahu. Saya buka syarikat saya sendiri sebab masa itu saya yakin masyarakat tak boleh bergerak tanpa motivasi.
புதுசா வித்தியாசமா நீங்க யோசிச்சு ஒரு மார்க்கெட்ல டிமாண்டா இருக்கிற ப்ராடக்ட்டை நீங்க கொண்டு வந்தீங்கன்னா பயனியராகவும் ஆகலாம். அதே சமயத்துல மக்கள் திருப்பி வந்து உங்கள்கிட்ட வாங்கிட்டு இருப்பாங்க.
把你的生意放上网络平台，我朋友是做网络卖衣服的生意，他的生意是不断的在增长。我起步的时候是跟去银行贷款，所以他说我的规模也是太小，所以他是不接受我的贷款的。有一天我上网寻找贷款，然后过后就找到 IMSME， 过后我去 click 进去申请表格。第二天 CGC 的有一个顾问打来跟我说，你可以尝试用 P2P 的平台，过后就成功了。
The great thing about this whole CGC ISME program is that it's no collateral and you can go for as little as 1,000 ringgit to as much as 5 million. I went online and went to the page, registered, logged in, and just keyed in my details. And from there, within a matter of days, things were already set in motion. So it's really that straightforward and that simple. I was able to get it within a matter of weeks. I think everyone can too.
IMSME ஃபண்ட் வந்து நாங்கள் வந்து அப்ளை பண்ணியிருந்தோம், எங்களுக்கு கிடைச்சிச்சு. அது மூலிமா எங்கள் பிஸ்னஸையும் வந்து எக்ஸ்பேண்ட் பண்ணோம். 10% வந்து இன்க்ரீஸ் பண்ணோம் எங்கள் சேல்ஸை. இது மூலிமா IMSME ஃபண்ட் வந்து ரொம்ப உதவியாக இருந்துச்சு எங்களுக்கு.
Sebenarnya dalam business, fund is everything. You have fund, you can go bigger. You don't have fund, you cannot go anywhere. CGC banyak membantu saya untuk saya go and move further sebenarnya. Dan at the end, saya dah ada branch baru dekat Alustah selepas saya dapat dana daripada CGC. I have no fund problem at all after that. Jadi dengan IMSME memang banyak sangat ubah hidup saya dan banyak membantu mengembangkan bisnes saya.
感谢 IMSME 帮我的生意更上一层楼。